Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD StarCraft, and I'm proud to bring you guys to Game 2 of the European Heart of the Swarm tournament. So far, everything has been going great, and it does look like we have the orange Protoss player spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, Entombed Valley. Let me go ahead and introduce him. It is Cougar. And, you know, in the first game of this set, he did drop to his opponent. His opponent down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it is the light green, light blue, I guess, Terran player. It is Adolf, and already we have another change of map. Interesting. So both these guys have kind of switched it up a little bit, and you know, on the first map we had Antigua Shipyard, hadn't seen that before, and now we're revisiting Entombed Valley, and I like that. You know, I like that because most of the time we've been seeing Ohana, and I gotta be honest with you guys, Ohana has kind of been a little tiring here on my mind. As much as I like going out to see the beautiful, lush paradise, but here we are on Entombed Valley, and Terran versus Protoss here. So far, the first game going to Adolf. And will he be able to close it out? If he can win this next game, he will go on to the Grand Finals to play against Bly. And that's big news, man. And I know it's not a lot of money. It's only $500. Be real, you know, $500, you spend that like that. But it's still nice to have 500 bones in your pocket. And plus, I think the reputation, knowing that you were one of the first winners in one of the very first Heart of the Swarm tournaments, it's big news, you know. But we'll see what happens. Will he go for another 3-factory push on one base? It worked out pretty well in the first game of this set, and it seems pretty unstoppable from what I've seen so far. How will, if Adolf decides to go for that 3-factory push again, the question is here, how will Cougar deal with that? And I really think you can't switch up your style. You can't stay on one base. You do have to expand. You know, you got to go for the natural and get that natural Nexus down, get the Mothership Core over to the natural so you can help purify, and maybe get better force fields out, hold the ramp down really well, have more units on the field. I do think when you're facing up against an all-in, very similar to the 1-1-1 all-in that we saw Terrans doing a year ago, you have to get an expand down as Protoss, and you have to play, you know, you have to play as if you were playing a normal style. You can't just completely switch it up. So I do think that I do think that that's what we'll see from the Protoss player. In fact, he's going 1-gate Cyber Core expand is what it looks like, and Adolf right now throwing down a factory. Will he throw down a second and a third factory though? That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. Will he, you know, go for that one base all in again? And it looks like the SCV is going to leak in, and it's going to see the Cyber Core, the gateway, and one gas. And usually when you see a Protoss player who only gets Cyber Core, Gateway, and one gas, you can kind of then deduce, okay, he doesn't have more gateways warping in, probably not a 4-gate, he only has one gas, so he's probably saving up money for a natural, and most likely he's just, you know, playing an expand style. So I think from there he can kind of go ahead and deduce, alright, it's probably 1-gate Cyber Core expand. And it looks like he has some Marines here on the ramp, going to be able to hold off the Stalker attack, and 5 Marines there. On the production tab, we do have 2 more factories coming, so it does look like we're going to see that same build from the Terran player, Adolf, and there is an interesting pylon coming up there over just behind the rocks. I wonder if he's throwing up this pylon just to make it seem like he's doing a 4-gate on one base, because that SCV didn't see the natural Nexus come down. Maybe he's just throwing up the pylon just because he wants to. I don't know, but it does look like that Stalker. Oh god, that Stalker, the Zealot now getting focus fired by the Marines. And that Stalker is going to be able to get out of there just barely intact. It's like metal plates are falling off and everything, man. 10 HP, it desperately needs to be repaired. But it does look like that Stalker is going to hang out now in the middle of the field. Now 3 factories coming for the Terran player, and I think it's just going to be the same exact thing here from Cougar, from Adolf, excuse me. He hasn't switched it up, and like I said before, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. You know, that's an old saying that still holds true. And you know, if you have 3 factories, there's really no hope here to get an expansion down if you're keeping up with production on these 3 factories, and in fact he is. A lot of Warhounds, Widowmine, and Marine on the way. Protoss player Cougar now has a Robo and 3 gates. Needs to get units out on the field. His sentries would be great to force fielding this ramp as well. And it looks like that Observer is going to leak on in. Oh, the Observer is actually going to see no natural, no CC in base. And this was a pretty quick Observer. It's also going to see the SCVs coming out as well. And these SCVs are not going to a mineral patch. So I think at this point, the Protoss can go ahead and safely assume, okay, those SCVs are coming for my front base, aren't they? And yeah, they are. So Cougar here needs to quickly get defenses up at the front door. He does have a Mothership Core. He'll need to rely on that for Purify, but the problem with this map is the Terran forces can then run up the ramp, so he needs to have very good force field usage here. Opting not to force field on the main ramp. Gonna fall back here and try to defend at this ramp. Drops down some force fields. I don't know if those were the best, so those Warhounds can still hit behind the force fields. They have great range, but it looks like Adolf pulls back, losing some DPS, and now gonna pull away. Man, that Mothership Core has so much range with its Purify ability, and now the force is getting up in the face of those Warhounds. And did that Warhound just kill off that Zealot? Incredible. I think it was because of the Widowmine that killed it off, but eventually those Warhounds were cornered against the rocks, and I think it might be a little premature to call, but I do believe that Cougar has held off the all-in on one base with a 3-gate Robo and a Mothership Core, and I don't know if he wants to overextend this far. That Zealot has already just, you know, he already signed his death wish when he crossed the path of a Widowmine, so there was no hope for that guy. But I do think that Cougar is looking pretty good in this game, guys. You know, I'm not gonna lie, he held off the one base. We still don't have a CC coming down. No, scratch that. There is a command center coming. So it's interesting because, you know, when you're in this situation as a Terran player, you're kind of faced with the predicament. Do I expand or do I stay on one base and continue this all in? And it looks like he's opted to expand, and oh, getting a lucky break here, man. Those Protoss forces just overextending way too much against the Battle Hellion Warhound army. And yeah, you know, it's weird because now at this point, I think Adolf has to seriously consider going for a double expand, you know, eco-cheese his way to victory, or he needs to hope that he gets some really good engages, like that last battle we just had, where the Protoss army was overextended. But one thing I will say that Adolf has going for him, even though his one base all-in has failed, he is behind in this game, don't get me wrong. One thing he has going for him is the Protoss doesn't have Charge on Archon yet. I know it's really early for that, but Charge on Archon, let me just say this right now, it is a wildly effective way of dealing with Warhounds, because the Warhound's Haywire ability does not activate, it does not proc against biological units, and the Zealots and the Archons are considered biological. Do note, 27 to 43 right now on the income tab, so, you know, that just shows how far behind the Terran player really is after going for a one-baser and just really getting rejected. He tried to ram through the front door, but the front door was locked, sealed, hermetically sealed, and now, you know, that Observer will see that, hey, there is a command center coming up, and yeah, the Terran is trying to transition out of this. But you know, going back to what I was saying before, the Warhound is somewhat effective against Immortals, against the non-biological army, and whoa, Dark Shrine coming up. Are you serious? Now, I don't know if Cougar is going for a Dark Shrine because it's like he wants to return the favor. Oh, you cheese me? We'll eat some of this grimy Dark Shrine-ness. I wonder if that's the reason why, because usually the saying is, you know, when behind, Dark Shrine. And he's not really behind right now. He's pretty far ahead. And I wonder what this probe is going to do. Is it just chilling there, enjoying the scenery? This is not Ohana. You don't get a Paradise Island. There is a medevac coming around the backside. That is 7 Immortals? Is that even a thing? And, you know, I think Cougar here is thinking Immortals should be pretty good against Warhounds, but in all honesty, they really aren't. I'll get to that in a second. We have a Warhound drop behind the main base. The Mothership Core has been brought in for a recall ability. The recall holding down the Warhounds, purifying, excuse me, against Warhounds, and the Mothership Core taking some damage, but it will not die in the medevac! Oh, the medevac just went down. Precious cargo has been lost. Photon cannons now coming up to the backside, and now Warhounds versus Immortals at the front door, and you know, you might think, oh, Immortals should be pretty good against Warhounds, and I think that's what Cougar thinks, but what you don't realize is the Warhound's Haywire ability fires rockets, plural, with an S, dealing 30 damage to mechanical units. And you know, I've watched it before, I've kind of studied it. It seems like it fires 2 to 3 rockets, and let's just say for this sake, it fires 3. That means each rocket from the Haywire barrage does 10 damage. And if it does 10 damage, the Immortal's Hardened Shield doesn't do diddly squat. for lack of a better word, it doesn't do anything. And that means that the Warhound is a very effective unit against Immortal, and I don't think going Immortal was the right answer to deal with Warhounds. So the one thing going for the Terran player here is he's still got a good composition, but the DTs have come into the main base, and that Warp Prism just unloading DTs all over the place. One DT inside the natural expansion, just hacking and slashing these SCVs, no mercy, man. And I don't think there's only enough energy for one comsat. So now Adolf has to choose: does he comsat the main or the natural? And in a sick way, these DTs are almost genius, because if you go Dark Templar against a Terran player who goes mech, well, guess what? Most Terrans, when they go mech, they're not going to have an engineering bay. Why would you get engineering bay for upgrades on mech? You don't upgrade mech upgrades on the engineering bay. You get armory for that. And so he was right. The engineering bay just now being built for missile turrets, which provide detection against Dark Templars. So that was actually, maybe it wasn't rubbing salt in the wound, maybe it was just genius. Now the missile turret finally comes up, kills off the Dark Templar and the Observer, but maybe that's the way, you know, maybe that's the way to counter mech. You just go DTs, because you know the Terran player probably won't have enough, he won't have an engineering bay. And now look at this, 29, 30 Harvesters under 67, this is insane. And the Protoss is not showing any signs of letting up. He's actually killing off the tech labs, and that means no more Warhound production. And finally, the DTs go down to a comsat, but there's no way for Adolf to hit the Warp Prism, and Warp Prism just kind of chilling there, chandelier, lighting the path for the Protoss player, and there's no way to hit the chandelier at this moment in time. So, oh, that sucks. And look at this, there's even a Ninja Expand by Cougar. So, you know, he did sneak that probe, and it did do something pretty dastardly, and oh, the chandelier will go down to a Widow Mine. And that's pretty clever. I totally forgot. I totally forgot that factories can make a unit that attacks air besides the Thor, and that is the Widow Mine here in Heart of the Swarm. So it does look like he gets rid of the Warp Prism finally, but the problem here is he's on 2 bases. The Protoss is on 4. And when you're a Protoss on 4 bases, yeah, right now his composition might not be the best. He has Immortal and Colossus, and Warhounds kind of own that. But the problem here is, look at the gas income. That gas is double what the Terran is making right now. He is twice a richer man, and that means when you have that much gas income as Protoss, you're going to see Archons, you're going to see Templar for Storm, you're going to see Charge Lots to complement the gas expensive units. And going back to what I was saying before, this all makes sense, because Charge Lot Archon demolishes Warhounds. It's not even fair. So I really do think maybe Adolf now realizing, hey, he's in a really tough spot right now, and it does look like he's going to go ahead and push out with his army. But yeah, man, he is in such a bind, such a pickle, and what will he do? I don't know, man. He doesn't even know there's a Ninja Expand at the top right-hand corner. He is just going to make an attack right now with his SCVs and Warhounds. And this is it, man. This is an experiment. How good are Warhounds against Colossus Immortal? Now remember, he does have a window here before Charge on Archon is realized. It's mostly mech here from the Protoss, and the Warhounds are pretty good against that, but the Templar are coming! The Templar are coming! Get away from the Storm! He's trying to spread out against the Templar, and Storm number 1 comes down. Oh, those Warhounds take a lot of damage from Storm, and the Protoss Robotics cleans up the rest. And GG! So, alright, GG. So, I'm not really going to lie to you guys, that game was pretty one-sided. After Adolf failed to correctly do the 1 base all-in with 3 factories, it was pretty much him trying to catch up the rest of the game. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and go on to game 3. I will see you guys there. Please don't go anywhere. This is HD StarCraft signing out.